Well, with me is Dr. Iain Overton, the director of that research charity Action on Armed Violence, who taught this course for disabled students in Gaza. Doctor, welcome here to BBC News. So obviously you cannot be there in Gaza, but tell us a little more about the course and actually what you know about in terms of your students, their safety or otherwise.
So the course was part of a University of Birmingham course that my charity aligned with called Disability Under Siege. And we came up with a notion called Voices from Gaza, where we wanted to work with young students living with disabilities in Gaza, particularly visual impairment. That seemed to be a major feature. And we wanted to train up around 25 of them to then go and become trainers of other students. So today, 75 students should have graduated. We were going to collate all of their narratives on storytelling and present a video basically where they had captured their various lives really on social media. And the main point of the course was to try and say, look, you're already disempowered in a country that has profound problems. Here is a way of amplifying your voice, but to try to do so without resorting to anger, vitriol, accusation, to actually try to find that common path of empathy. So it's an absolute tragedy to find that these students who are living with profound challenges, and some are totally blind, some have mobility issues, are now, I guess, scattered to the four corners of Gaza. We don't really know where many of them are.
Well, when was the last time you had contact with any of them in terms of their descriptions of what they've actually gone through?
So literally today, after I tweeted, one of them managed to get their voice to Lebanon via social media, and that was translated. And when reading it, she was absolutely terrified. She has considerable visual impairment, and she doesn't know what the noises coming from the distance are going to do. She feels incredibly dislocated. She is resilient, and that's a fundamental feature of all of the students. They do fall back on this sense of resilience. But in truth, it's abject terror. And one of the really shocking things that I found out the other day was one of the lecturers had lost 9 members of his family: his mother, his brother, his sister-in-law, 3 nieces and 3 nephews in an airstrike. So not only has the student corpus been sort of cast to the winds, there have been terrible personal losses, and on top of this, the Islamic University of Gaza itself has been bombed.
Well, exactly on that, because we have pictures of exactly that. That was a strike only a few days ago of the strike, and there on the screen, you can see it on the small screens, the explosions, because the Islamic University that you're referring to, now the IDF said that they had struck political and military centres there that were operational for Hamas.
Well, I guess the proof needs to lie with the IDF to show that this was indeed the fact. I mean, war is hell, war is chaos, and war is full of lies and propaganda. As far as I can see, I was teaching students living with significant disabilities. It was a peace initiative. It was an attempt to give them a voice that was not meant to be an angry voice. I was very clear on having to insist that if they were going to say anything, it needs to be rooted in absolute fact. So I'm hoping that when the dust settles, they will be able to tell their stories. But for the moment, there's this terrible silence. And occasionally, when I'm even contacting the course leaders, you see the 2 tick on Twitter, WhatsApp, then just becoming 1 tick, and then the message isn't going through. And of course, your mind is filled with all sorts of potential of horror of what that 1 tick might represent.
And I suppose that's what people have found, certainly again in the last 24 hours, with communications cut. It's not the first time, but that is making every aspect of this worse in terms of actually trying to find out what is happening on the ground.
Indeed, and of course the ultimate point of this, so this University of Birmingham initiative, was a really noble one. It was to give disabled students a sense of agency, and that agency has now been ripped away. So I'm hoping that they will learn a few lessons from the course, and when the war, as I hope it will end, they'll be able to tell their stories for the world to see. But at the moment, it's kind of an unrelenting horror.
And just briefly and finally, just to repeat, of all the students that you had on that course, you've only been able to make contact with 1 so far?
Just 1. So of the 25 I taught, I have no idea what's happened to 24 of them.
Doctor, thanks very much for coming in. Perhaps we'll talk again in the coming weeks. Thanks so much for your time.